the Mahayana Uttaratantra Śāstra, or Ratnagotravibhāga, attributed to Arya Maitreya, or Sāramati. Chapter 2. The fifth Vajra point, Enlightenment. With its purity, attainment, freedom, benefit for oneself and others, their basis, depth, vastness, and greatness of nature, duration, and suchness, it has 8 qualities. By the topics essence, cause, fruit, function, endowment, manifestation, permanence, and inconceivability, the level of a Buddha is presented. Enlightenment, of which the Buddha said, "It is by nature clear light," is similar to the sun and space. It is free from the stains of the adventitious poisons and hindrances to knowledge, the veils of which obscured it like a dense sea of clouds. Buddhahood is permanent, steadfast, and immutable, possessing all the unpolluted Buddha qualities. It is attained on the basis of 2 primordial wisdoms. One is free from ideation with regard to phenomena. The other is discriminative. Buddhahood is indivisible, yet can be divided, according to its property of twofold purity. Thus it has 2 features, which are abandonment and primordial wisdom, similar to space and the sun. Luminous, clear light is not created. It is indivisibly manifest in the nature of beings, and holds all the Buddha properties, outnumbering the grains of sand in the river Ganges. By nature not existent, pervasive and adventitious, the veils of the poisons and of the hindrances to knowledge are described as being similar to a cloud. Twofold wisdom causes release from the 2 veils, since there is the one that is free from ideation and the one ensuing from this in post-meditation. It is held that there are 2 primordial wisdoms. Like a lake filled with unpolluted water, gradually overspread by lotus flowers, like the full moon released from Rahu's mouth, and the sun liberated from a sea of clouds, it is free from affliction. Being free from pollution and possessing qualities, Buddhahood is endowed with the brilliant light rays of correct and complete vision. Being similar to the statue of the Muni, the leader of beings, and to the honey, the grain, the precious gold, the treasure, the mighty tree, the Sugata's statue, made from immaculate precious material, the ruler of the earth, and the golden image, a Buddha has gained victory. Purity from the adventitious afflictions of desire and the other mental poisons is like the water of the lake, and so forth. When put concisely, it can be fully shown as the fruit of wisdom free from ideation. The actual attainment of the Buddhakāya, which has all supreme aspects, is explained as the fruit of primordial wisdom ensuing from this after meditation. Having eliminated the silt of desire, he lets the waters of meditative stability flow onto the lotus-like disciples, and thus resembles the lake of pure water. Having freed himself from the Rahu of hatred, he pervades beings with the light rays of his great love and compassionate concern, and thus is similar to the immaculate full moon. Totally freed from the clouds of unknowing and dispelling its darkness within beings through the light rays of primordial wisdom, Buddhahood is similar to the unpolluted sun. Since enlightenment has pureless properties, since it bestows the taste of sacred dharma, and since it is free from the peel of the veils, it is like the Sugata, the honey and the grain. Since it is purified, since being's poverty is dispelled by the wealth of its qualities, and since it grants the fruit of total liberation, it is like the gold, the treasure, and the tree. Representing the jewel of the dharmakāya and the attainment of the supreme Lord of humans, and manifesting in the likeness of a precious image, they are like the bejeweled, the king, and the golden. Rid of pollution and all-pervasive, true Buddhahood has an indestructible nature, since it is steadfast, at peace, permanent, and unchanging. As the abode of qualities, a tathāgata is similar to space. For the 6 sense faculties of a saintly being, it forms the cause to experience their respective pure objects of perception. It is the cause for visible objects, which are non-arising, to be seen, for good and pure speech to be heard, for the pure scent of the moral conduct of the Sugata to be smelled, for the flavor of sacred dharma of the great noble ones to be tasted, for the blissful touch of samadhi to be felt, and for the mode of the dharma, which is by essence deep, to be realized. When reflected upon in a very fine way, a Sugata bestowing true bliss is like space, devoid of any reasons. In brief, Two kāyas are to be understood as functions of the two primordial wisdoms, the vimuktikāya, representing perfection, and the dharmakāya, representing refinement. Vimuktikāya and dharmakāya are to be known in terms of two aspects, and a common one, as they are free from pollution and all-pervasive, uncreated, and thus embody the ground of virtue. Since the mental poisons along with their remaining imprints are ended, the vimuktikāya is free from any pollution. Since there is no attachment and obstruction, the dharmakāya is considered as pervasive primordial wisdom. Being of a nature forever indestructible, neither kāya is something that is created. While indestructibility is the concise explanation of uncreatedness, it is taught in more detail through the topic steadfast, and so forth. Destructibility is to be understood in terms of four aspects, since it constitutes the contrary of steadfastness, and so on. These are decay, drastic change, being cut off, and transmigration, which is inconceivable, and a transformation in various ways. Since the vimuktikāya and dharmakāya are free from these features, they are to be known as steadfast, peaceful, permanent, and unchanging. An absence of pollution and primordial wisdom are the support for the unstained properties. To come forth in the disciples, they are also the abode of the best possible benefit for others. Space is not a cause, and yet the cause for all visible things to be seen, for sound, odor, flavor, touch, and phenomena to be heard, and so on. Just so they cause the unstained qualities to arise as objects sensed by those whose vision is stable by junction with the unveiled seeing of the two kāyas. Buddhahood is inconceivable, permanent, steadfast, at peace, and immutable. It is utterly peaceful, pervasive, without thought, and unattached like space. It is free from hindrance, and coarse objects of contact are eliminated. It cannot be seen or grasped. It is virtuous and free from pollution. As was explained, the vimuktikāya and the dharmakāya accomplish benefit for oneself and benefit for others. These kāyas, being the support of this twofold benefit, possess the qualities of being inconceivable, and so forth. Being the object of the omniscient primordial wisdom, Buddhahood is not an object for the three types of insight. So even those with a wisdom body must realize that Buddha enlightenment is inconceivable. Being subtle, it is not an object for study. Being absolute, it cannot be reflected upon. Dharmata is deep. Hence it is not an object for any worldly meditation, and so on. Why is it hard to realize? Like the blind with regard to the visible, the children have never seen it before. Even noble ones see it as babies would glimpse the sun from within the house where they are born. Since it is free from being born, it is permanent. Since it is without cessation, it is steadfast. Since these two are not present, it is peaceful. It is immutable, for the dharmata ever remains. It is utter peace, since the truth of cessation is revealed. Since everything is realized, it pervades all the knowable. Since it does not dwell upon anything, it is without ideation. Since the mental poisons are eliminated, it has no attachment. Since the veil of the hindrances to knowledge is cleansed, it is in all ways unobstructed with regard to complete insight. Being free from its two obstacles, it is suited for samadhi, and thus relieved from the touch of coarse objects of contact. Since it is not something visible, it cannot be seen. Since it is free from features, it cannot be grasped. It is virtuous, the dharmadhatu being by nature pure, and it is free from stains, since pollution is abandoned. What is the nature of dharmadhatu? It is without beginning, middle, and end. It is totally indivisible, and far away from the two extremes, rid of the three veils, unpolluted, and not an object of thought. Its realization is the vision of a yogi who dwells in meditative equipoise. The unpolluted sphere of a tathāgata possesses the four qualities of realization. It cannot be fathomed, and in number is beyond the grains of sand in the river Ganges. It is inconceivable and peerless, and there is furthermore elimination of all faults, along with their remaining traces. Through various aspects of the sacred Dharma, through bodies shot with light rays, and through its readiness to accomplish the task of the total liberation of beings, its deeds resemble the activity of a king of wish-fulfilling jewels. It appears as a variety of things, yet is not of the nature of these. The Nirmanakaya persuades the worldly beings to enter the path towards peace. He fully matures them, and, granting prophecy, becomes the cause of their release. These form kāyas remain forever in this world, like the realm of form within the realm of space. The omniscience of all the self-sprung ones is given the name of Buddhahood. Its meaning is also termed most supremely beyond torment, the inconceivable, foe vanquisher, and quintessence of self-awareness. When these are categorized, they can be fully divided into three properties, which are the qualities of depth, vastness, and greatness, or the nature, kāya, and so on. The benefits are fulfilled through these three kāyas. Of these, the svabhavika-kāya of the Buddhas is to be known as having 5 characteristics, and if condensed, 5 qualities. It is uncreated and totally indivisible. The 2 extremes are completely abandoned. It is definitively freed from the 3 veils, the mental poisons and the obstructions to knowledge and meditative equipoise. It is unpolluted and not an object of thought. Being the field of the yogis and the dharma dhatu, being by essence pure, it is luminous clarity. The svabhavika-kāya truly has the final and ultimate qualities of being unfathomable, countless, inconceivable, unequaled, and pure, since it is vast, not to be numbered, not an object of reasoning, and unique, and since the remaining traces are eliminated, it is in the same order unfathomable, and so on. It perfectly enjoys the various aspects of dharma, and appears in the form of natural qualities. Corresponding to the pure cause of its compassion, the benefit of sentient beings is uninterrupted. Totally without any thought and spontaneously, it wholly grants all wishes exactly as they are, by miraculous powers, like a wish-fulfilling gem. It therefore fully abides in perfect enjoyment. Since the stream of verbal expression, display of form, and action of mind is uninterrupted and not a product, and since it shows that it is not of the essence of these, it is taught here in 5 aspects, as various, and so on. Due to the various colors of its background, a gem appears in manifold colors, but is not a thing fulfilling their function. Likewise, the all-pervasive ones appear due to the manifold conditions set by beings, without being a thing fulfilling their function. The supreme nirmanakaya knows the world, and having gazed upon all worldly beings, demonstrates out of his great compassion 12 wondrous deeds. Without moving away from the dharmakāya, he manifests through various aspects of an illusory nature. Having first been born spontaneously in a divine existence, he then leaves the realm of Tushita and passes into this world. He enters his mother's womb, takes birth, and gains perfect skill, mastering all the various fields of handicraft, science, and art. He mirthfully enjoys amusement among his spouse and her retinue. Feeling weariness and renunciation, he practices as an ascetic. Then he goes to Awakening's heart and defeats the hosts of Mara. He finds perfect enlightenment and turns the wheel of Dharma. He passes into nirvana, the state beyond any torment and pain. Within all the endless fields totally infested with impurity, he shows these deeds as long as beings abide in existence. With the words impermanent, suffering, selfless, and peace, the Buddhas who know all means persuade sentient beings to generate weariness with the 3 realms of existence, and to fully enter into the state beyond torment and pain. Those who have perfectly followed the path of peace believe that they have attained the state of nirvana. By the White Lotus of Dharma Sutra and similar aspects of his sacred teaching, he explains the nature of phenomena. Thus he causes them to refrain from their former belief, to fully adopt skillful means and discriminative wisdom, and gain maturity on the path of the supreme vehicle. Then he grants them prophecy of their supreme enlightenment. Since these kāyas constitute depth, best possible power, and supreme guidance in tune with the aims of the children, they should be known in accordance with this number as being deep, vast, and the embodiment of greatness. Here the first is the dharmakāya, and the latter are the form kāyas. As the visible abides in space, the latter abide in the first. There is permanence, since the causes are endless and sentient beings inexhaustible in number. They have compassionate love, miraculous power, knowledge, and utter bliss. They are masters of all qualities. The demon of death has been vanquished. Being not of the essence of the compounded, it is the true protector of all worldly beings. Having offered bodies, lives, and goods, they purely uphold the sacred dharma. In order to benefit all sentient beings, they fulfill their vow as initially taken. Buddhahood supremely expresses itself as compassion, both cleansed and purified. Appearing on the feet of miraculous powers, they can act forever by means of these. By knowledge they are freed from the belief fixed on the duality of samsara and nirvana. They always possess the best possible bliss of samadhi, beyond ideation and end. While acting in the world for others' good, they are unsullied by all worldly phenomena. Free from dying, it is the attainment of peace. In this sphere, the demon of death cannot roam. The state of the Muni, being of uncreated nature, has been fully pacified since beginningless time. For all those who are bereft of permanent shelter, it provides the most delightful refuge, and so on. The first 7 reasons clarify the permanence of the form kāyas, while the latter 3 illustrate why the dharmakāya lasts forever. It is not an object of speech and is embraced by the Absolute. It is not a field for ideation and is beyond any example, unexcelled and not embraced by existence and peace. Even the noble cannot conceive the sphere of the victor. It is inconceivable since it cannot be verbally expressed. It is inexpressible since it consists of the absolute truth. It is absolute since it cannot be intellectually scrutinized. It is inscrutable since it cannot be inferentially deduced. It is not deducible since it is peerless, the highest of all. It is the highest of all since it is not comprised by anything. It is uncomprised since it does not dwell on any extreme. This is because there is no dualistic idea of quality and fault. For the first 5 reasons, the dharmakāya is subtle, and thus beyond the reach of thought. For the 6th, the form kāyas are inconceivable. They show appearance, but are not something that fulfills the function of this. Since through peerless primordial wisdom, great compassion, and further attributes, all qualities are finally perfected, the victor is inconceivable. Thus, the last mode of the self-sprung ones is not even seen by those great sages who have received the empowerment of splendorous light rays. This was the section Enlightenment, the 2nd chapter of the commentary on the highest continuity of the Mahayana Dharma, which analyzes the disposition of the rare and sublime ones.